on Zoom and I gotta be out of here by 6. Oh, and here's Joe. Okay, great. So we're gonna go really fast. This is the April regular meeting of the VDC. I'm the chair, Howard Margulies. I know Sherry is not going to be here. Couple of announcements. Cheryl, I know you had something for new business. Could you just give us what that is and we'll put it in under new business.
A town website.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Just to let you know, I did get the budget report that shows that we have outside, in addition to the 7,000 for the business resource guide, we have a budget of 2,500 for the year. I met with Tim and we moved a lot of things forward. So he signed the agreement for the business resource guide, and Sherry's gonna honcho that project. She can't, like I said, be here today. And I'll tell you more about the forum when we get to that. I also met with Maura Rowe, the director of the academy, and I can tell you a little bit that when we get to that also. I just wanted to see, should we meet in person next time? Anyone object to that, or? Okay, so I'm going to try to plan that for the next meeting. If we get a night like this, we can do it even outside in the back. We'll see what happens. We'll play it here. Okay. The Halls Road gas station. Has everyone been following that? It's still in the committee for, what is that? Wetlands Commission, and they're gonna have another hearing. No, they had the second, right? So they have to decide. And then I assume it has to go to planning, and I heard it has to also go to zoning, but no one's officially stated that. So the last time we decided not to take any action. If someone wants to propose something under new business, either pro or against it, we consider that again. Anyone have any other information about gas station?
Nope.
Okay, the events article, just to let you know, it went out. And I've also had it posted on the website. So it's there. Very interesting. We didn't get any responses. Usually, anytime we put something out, we get a few people writing us. I've had a couple of people write me about the gas station. I just wrote back that we really have no authority over it and gave them what the process is. But that's that. Let's move on. The approval of the minutes. I know Joe sent me some corrections, typos. Anyone else have any comment on the minutes? All right. Anyone want to make a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Okay, Joe. Second.
Second.
Candace. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, passed. All right. Old business. The forum. I met with Tim. He's pretty into this. So we kind of talked it over for quite a while. I met him almost 2 hours, and we decided to do it in person. We think it's just going to be a lot more effective, and and he's going to pick a date that makes sense in May. We're going to invite appropriate boards and commissions, and that just means people that would be kind of interested in the topics. And there will be a panel. Now, The bad news about having it in person is it limits the number of people that we could have. So
Mhm.
there's, from each commission, we'll probably only have one or two. And it will limit the public participation. I told him I thought it was important to have the public be able to weigh in. So we're going to have a meeting following this forum where for the public to let them review what we've done and let them weigh in so that they have an opportunity. It's kind of, oh, as far as, I put out a couple of topics just to get the ball started and hope a discussion, but he liked those. So,
Mm.
and the three topics are housing, both affordable and market priced, to look at housing needs outside of single family home. The second one is kind of economic viability, given the threat from both COVID and online retail, especially in the Halls Road area, even though, separate from the Halls Road Improvement Committee, because we are seeing, a couple of businesses, we know, as I said
Mhm.
before, Bank of America's gone out. I know that, not sure that the public restaurant will reopen. I don't know what their story is, but they may not. So we may have others follow. And the question is, what are we going to do as a town, to make sure that we have a viable business center.
Mm.
And then third was the POCD has just been revised, and how do we make sure that the recommendations get implemented? And basically, the major purpose of this, though, is to get the boards and commissions working together. They've always kind of worked pretty independently of each other, and a lot of us working on the same issues. And it just seems we should be in the same room and kind of sharing ideas and trying to move some of these things forward. So that's kind of where we are with that. He'll let us know. I've sent him an outline and a checklist, I think, of all things that have to be done to put it together. It won't include all the boards and commissions. It's going to be the ones that I think, are with those major topics, have an interest in them. Now, if anyone, and I don't have to do it right now, if you can send me an email, like I said, I just put those out there as examples of what I thought, and I didn't intend it to be, the final product, but it looks like it is. So if anyone has any other ideas, now we can't really, remember the first hour is going to be devoted to Courtney Henderson talking, just finishing off the advanced CT work. I've asked her again, just to remind you, that to give us any, not to review the reports. I expect people to read them before they get there. But to any insights that she has that aren't in the reports, what she thinks the impact of COVID and online retail will have on our economy, and what other municipalities are doing to address those issues. And three, to update the recommendations based on all that. What else should the town be doing with those reports? That's the first hour. Second hour will be devoted to those three topics that I talked about. So if you have any ideas, it's still open. I still would, welcome to hear those, and go over those with Tim to see if we should revive those. Any questions on the forum? No. Okay, good. All right. The business spotlight project. MJ, Candace, anyone want to update us? And
I'll go first. We've kind of hit a roadblock. I think that we have everything in place to create the material, but we don't have a mouthpiece to publicize the material. We have gained permission to put something up on Limeline, and that's lovely.
Mhm.
And we're looking for something that will be a little bit more broadly publicized. We've been in extensive conversations with town government about whether they could see clear to having the EDC have a social media presence. And so far, we're getting a big no. I think there are some strong arguments in favor of this. The Guilford Economic Development Commission has a Facebook presence. Other towns and commissions do, namely Park and Rec. And if you tell me that it's the department, not the commission, I'll tell you that you're splitting hairs, and that's ridiculous. So, yeah, we're kind of at an impasse in terms of how to, I just don't feel like investing a lot of effort into creating a lot of great content if we don't have any way to share it with the world.
Mhm.
MJ, you want to add anything? I think you're muted.
I reached out again to Heather Gagnon about trying to light a fire under the chamber as well, and not to do the whole eye roll, but she said good luck with that. She's tried. They seem to be in, stuck in the mud also. And I had hopes that they could have at least provided us with a partnership that would have led to, meeting our goals. I don't know how else to work around them. I know members, they say to talk to Rich. Rich is unresponsive. I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss.
I did talk to Tim a little bit about this, and I just told him we've made every effort to work with, and we will continue to do that. And if we can get him on board, that's fine, but we're just going to go ahead. And he kind of agreed. So going back to.
Howard, can you let Cheryl speak? Cheryl,
Cheryl, sorry.
Sorry, I was trying to be polite and raise my hand.
Don't be polite. Just hit me over the head.
So I think it's great that you have the potential landing spot of Limeline, and Olwen does a wonderful job of highlighting articles that she has in her weekly or biweekly newsletter. So the word would get out that way to her readership. But then also, I know the policy, the town hall policy is that only staff departments can have social media. But I take advantage of that Town of Old Lyme Facebook page that Michelle runs, and I get really good response. You don't necessarily see it in likes. If you're someone just looking at the Facebook page from outside, you can't really tell what kind of interaction there is because people may not like the post. But they definitely click through to register for a presentation that we're promoting, like I've done for Pollinate Old Lyme or for the Sustainable Old Lyme projects. She does get a lot of interaction. That's how I learn about Tim's weekly newsletter when it's out. I see it on the Facebook post. I click through and I go to his Facebook newsletter. I don't necessarily click on the like button for it, so you wouldn't know that I interacted with it. So, I mean, it's not the solution you're looking for, but it might be something just to get the ball rolling to use Olwen and then promote the article that's on, or the column that's on Limeline by Olwen promoting it, getting it in Tim's weekly newsletter and on the Town of Old Lyme Facebook page.
And also the town is they just will put right on your EDC section. Like I just saw that I asked to promote the work party and the bench dedication. And they're right on the Halls Road site. So they're right there. If you go to Halls Road, it's the first thing you see is that there are these two events coming up. So I think we got to make do with what we've got.
And Edie, let me just
get
say,
it
it's
going.
also on the homepage. It's on the, as a news article on the homepage. You don't even have to go
Right.
to the Halls Road page.
Right, right.
And
That's right.
I think Tim would, I can't see why he wouldn't. It seems he supports this. So I would think he'd put it out on his weekly newsletter, and we could put it in the events magazine. So it's, you know, it is frustrating. And I think we can continue to, at the right time, revisit it. I just think a number of other things were going on, and some of the people really just didn't. This is the last thing they wanted to do, is have another new project on their plate. But, you know, that may change. So I think if we put all those other things as Cheryl and Edie described, again, it's not perfect, but at least gets us off the ground. We could do that.
Yep.
Is that all right?
I would disagree, because I think that unless we have a power punch launch, we're not going to get the businesses to participate. We've already heard that some of them might get their noses bent out of shape for one reason or another. But I'm only one person. I will bow to the majority. I just don't think that we're meeting what we're promoting to them if we just keep it closed to Old Lyme. It's supposed to go beyond that, and the Better Business pages would be LinkedIn and those kinds of sources that business people read. I know they read Facebook, but I don't think that's the end all and be all of it either. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that use Pinterest. I don't have all the metrics, but again, I don't want to kill it. It's just my own
Well,
personal
also,
opinion.
I spoke for quite a while with Maura Rowe about how to get, you know, the whole story of Old Lyme told. And she's said a couple times, made it clear that she was willing to help out on the EDC. And she has a system that if you make up a bunch of stories, it can automatically post things on Facebook and Twitter and and Instagram. And I think she might have some options for us that we don't necessarily know about. I'm not a big social media person. I only do Facebook, but I think she's another resource that we could tap into. But I think showing some movement on the EDC is valuable. I think it's more valuable than saying, oh, well, we can't do it because we don't have the perfect solution yet. So, you know, that's my vote.
Yeah. And I know nothing about social media, so just take, you know, my opinion with a grain of salt, because I really don't know anything about it. I don't really participate very much. But it would just seem to me that if you have the town people who are interested in town government, go to the town website and look at that and all these other things. They'll look at Limelight, the events, Tim's weekly thing, whatever. And we could do a special announcement. I mean, I'm sure we can get, Michelle would do, you know, just as they do the kindness thing. I think we can get her to put out a notice about it whenever we have it, that it just wouldn't seem to be a whole bunch of additional people who would then want to look at just an EDC social media piece. And I don't know, but people who know that probably have a better opinion than I do on how that works. But
I think it would be useful to step back, because what I'm seeing is that there are two different goals envisioned for this project. And the first goal is to encourage Old Lyme people to shop locally and support local businesses and make them aware not only of the businesses that are in our face that we all know about, but also smaller businesses that might be harder to find. The other goal of this project, and I'll use MJ's words because I think it's her idea, is to broadcast regionally that Old Lyme is, quote, open for business. And the approaches that we're looking at as an alternative to what we had originally envisioned, using the town website, and would serve the first goal, I'm sure, but it would not serve the second goal. So I think it's a question of whether, as MJ has pointed out, whether we're willing to have what you might call a soft opening that would only serve the first goal, and acknowledge that the second goal is not going to be served immediately.
Yeah, I think that's a good description of the project. What are Cheryl, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I appreciate that, MJ, that doing anything in town or the Town of Old Lyme Facebook page isn't really broadcasting it out to other areas that Old Lyme's open for business. But what if you supplemented the local reach of Shop Local with putting these spotlights as sort of call out stories within the business guide that's being produced? You could have a series. I don't know how Advanced CT's laying out this business guide, but it would be really nice to have different call out stories, off to the side or in the margins, or, windows within the guide that show different businesses.
And help me understand who the business guide is going to go to. How is that going to be broadcast?
Well, we haven't, that's just getting off the ground, so I don't think any of that's been, I think the basic idea was the reason we had this, we delved into this project was to try to partially answer the issue that Old Lyme could be easier to do business with that came out of the Advanced CT report. So the idea was to be able to put all the a lot of information that businesses need in one convenient place, and that they could, go to that and not have to search forever and trying to find it. So that's kind of the original purpose. Now it can be, expanded to include something along the lines that Cheryl just talked about. It doesn't have to be that. So that could be also incorporated, I would guess. But it would just seem like, anyone else have anything? Edie, you look like you want to say something. No?
So I'm of two minds, and I understand if we can't get everything we want, I'm willing to, and I appreciate Limeline is a pretty darn good compromise. But I also appreciate that we have been challenged to. I was surprised. I thought businesses would jump at this opportunity, and that has not been the case at all. And it's been hard to get businesses to want to participate. And MJ has leveraged one of her relationships to get our first business lined up, but I'm not quite sure what happens after that. So,
well, what kind of businesses have you contacted? I would just be curious, and how many?
So I contacted the kettle corn place by every imaginable media other than walking over there and knocking on their door. And there was no response at all. And I'll let MJ chime in.
Well, I talked to the chocolate shell and learned that they have been there for 40 years. So when I shared that with Candace, we thought that would be a great stepping stone. There are a lot of people that shop there. She's got a map on her wall of all the places around the world she shipped candy. So I thought that would be kind of an impetus for others to want to participate. I've gone to Andy. Of course, he'd be more than willing to work with us. I wanted to go to the smaller places. I sent a text over to Pat Spratt. She's more wholesale, but that sort of does double duty for us. It gives you that 2 times a year sidewalk sale she has, plus her wholesale business. And there are others. I mean, I could go on. But again, people want to know what's in it for them. That's what I'm getting. What's in it for them? The chocolate shell, she has a steady block of business, as does the Bowerbird. They would love to see us publish them. But I think if Candace and I sat down and talked about everything that we just heard, we might be able to work on something.
What do you think should be in it for them?
Well, I think they should be able to have others outside of the region, or if you have a friend who had, not you, anyone had a friend who is in the marine oil supply business, and we've got businesses that use those products and they had no idea we were here, I would pick up the phone and call my cousin in Wisconsin and say, hey, did you know we do this here? That's how it spreads, and that's how the regionalization spreads as quickly as possible through social media, as opposed to keeping it close to home. You know, people aren't always aware of what everybody does or what they need. So we would say, you know, we use paper products still, even though we're in a World Wide Web society, or sugar prices have gone up, or I need a new vendor for this. I would carry that if I could do this. That's what I'm getting in general.
I would think
Maybe
there's
it's too
also,
aggressive.
there's also there's merit in recognize. I agree. I think it would be great to concentrate on new businesses and ones that are not known, to give them that publicity. But I think there's also value to the businesses and to the town to recognize some of the businesses, you know, that are more well established and known and are good citizens in town. You know, they support a lot of the businesses, and every time they give money and resources to, you know, the town every time they ask. And it would be nice to also, I think, recognize those kind of businesses. And then, you know, there's just we need to, I think there's businesses along that exit 71 area that, as I've said before, they probably don't relate to being old line businesses. They just happen to be a business on exit 71 off 95. I think that's how they view themselves, and not really participate. But it would be nice to draw them in a little bit, because some of those are pretty substantial. If we lose them, you know, that could have an impact on town. So I think it could be certainly the first goal of recognizing new businesses good, but it can also, if we're looking to having trouble getting businesses, we could also look at those others as potential participants too.
Because you kind of need to build up some momentum, I guess, you know, and if you've got
Right.
some people that aren't dying to be published in this wonderful thing we're going to do, it's because they've never heard of it before. So, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
Joe.
just gonna pipe up. You know, I feel the pain that Candace expressed because, you know, I've done outreach. I mean, I ran an alumni chapter for 20 years for my college, and it turned into, you know, you want to assemble 20 people for a get together. It means calling 60 people and listening to everybody's hard luck story about why they can't come. You know, so I've kind of been there, but it's the only thing that works. I've learned. So maybe the way to play it is, you know, if there's a list, can we winnow it down to the ones that are non-responsive and I'm willing to pick up and try to outreach to some of the non-responsive ones. I'll look at it and see, who do I know? Like Don Bureau is an old friend. I'm really shocked that he's not answering your outreach.
I will also kind of touch base with some of the business owners that I know, some of the more prominent ones, and get their input a little bit. The Coffees, the Graybulls I can go to. I know all those people. And Cooley, I think we can get maybe Cheryl, those kind of people, and see if we can get a little bit more feedback from them. And then I would just suggest that if Candace and MJ could just go ahead and assimilate everything that we've kind of, and see if you could come up with them. It would be, I'm hoping that we can at least try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least go out there and make an attempt. And we could always revisit it again. So I agree, it's a little frustrating. And I think at some point, certainly if we can demonstrate that there's interest in it, I think we can put more pressure on the town to say, hey, there's payoff in this. So, let's revisit that whole issue again.
I think, Howard, the key is that we got to somehow figure out what brings value to a particular, the ones that are not being responsive. Because, for example, I don't know a whole lot about Kellogg Marine Supply, but, for the last 3 years, I've reconnected with the marine industry in the way of teaching at the Coast Guard Academy. So there's probably market channels that they're oblivious to that they could penetrate and they could grow. And there's an example. So I might try, to brainstorm a little bit along those lines. And similarly, the kind of like a lot of sole proprietors in town, like I just got new neighbors. One of my new neighbors is the editor of Equus magazine, which apparently caters to like the horse people community.
Right.
And her husband was a writer for the Washington Post, who is now turned himself into an IT guy. But again, everything is a function of helping people expand networks if we're going to try and grow businesses in town.
Yeah.
And that's the labor of love that we're all tuned into.
So let's leave it at that. Why don't you guys take this input, think it up. And Cheryl, can you maybe, through your art contacts and potential other businesses, see if you can test the waters and get some input? I'll try to go to some of the business owners I know, and Edie, wherever she is. Edie, you know some people too. Could you maybe touch base with a couple of businesses that you're familiar with and just run it by them and see if we can expand their list a little bit?
Do we have a script, basically, of, at least the elevator pitch? What do we have so far?
Well, I don't know if we have that. I think it's still.
We have a lot of that outlined. We were just kind of,
Yeah.
we'd be willing to share it.
Yeah,
It's very draft form, but.
Even if it's rough, I mean, I'm not fancy.
Yeah.
No, and I
So-
understand. We also have a list of maybe 100 businesses,
Yeah, no,
at least 100.
yeah.
The other thing too is we have an idea, but I think one of the questions we should ask them is, what do they think, we should be doing? So let's get some of their,
It's
and
almost,
they may come up with something better than we have,
it's almost like, hey, tell us what
Right,
you,
right.
in a perfect world, what would you want in the way
Yeah.
of help?
Here's what we kind of thinking about, but we're in the formative stage. Help us
Right.
out here. What would work for you? Yeah. Okay, let's do that. In the interest of time, like I say, I got to get out of here, or else my one of my daughters will bring me if I don't do something.
All right.
But, Cheryl, tell us a little bit about. I know you do 4,732 things for this town. Tell us the one that you're doing on the Arts Subcommittee, and then make your pitch for your new business item. But it was a great
Okay.
meeting, by the way, that you're in.
Good, thank you. Very quickly, the Cooley Gallery was written up in Neighbors Magazine. I don't know how I pulled this. By Kim Munson, this past Neighbors Magazine. So I'm sure we can find another arts organization or do Cooley's, which definitely deserves a lot of publicity later in the calendar year. So very quickly, the Arts Economy Subcommittee met earlier this week, earlier this month. For the first time, we had a very robust discussion on how businesses can maybe better take advantage of the visitors that come here for the arts organizations, connectivity among businesses and arts organizations, and also supporting artists and artisans here in Old Lyme. We had some homework to do over before the next meeting, which is on the 16th, of developing the story of Old Lyme, kind of like the placemaking. What is it about the arts and nature here in Old Lyme? And then once we have that story down from, historically to present day, we'll start to work on some actions based off of that. The other thing that we're going to discuss this coming month is whether or not it makes sense to develop Lime Street as a cultural district, which is a state designation. In the paper, in the day this week, there was an article about New London going for that designation. So my hope personally is that I'm coming to this meeting next month requesting that the EDC approve us going forward with the cultural district designation. I think that's all I want to say about that. The other thing, under new business, Howard has me combining my two reports here, is that we talked earlier about perhaps having a consumer-friendly town website in addition to the government website. And we were trying to figure out if we could work with visitoldlyme.com, which is the chamber's website. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but if the EDC, either in total or in conjunction with other commissions, could help fund the start of this like WordPress website, I'm pretty certain Michelle, at least a couple of months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, saw that that was something she could help put together. We could have multiple pages on it. It would definitely be advantageous to the arts and cultural community, but you could also have an electronic version of the business guide on there. You could have your business spotlights on there as a home base for that. How to do business in Old Lyme, Candace's thoughts on an activities guide, sustainability issues, that comes up quite a bit under Sustainable Old Lyme, things like, a consumer-friendly page on how to recycle and compost and all the things we want people doing, ways to enjoy outdoor activities in Old Lyme. So rather than being organized and very plain, organized by commission and board and department, it would be more consumer facing.
But it would be under the town, right, Cheryl? Is that what you're saying?
Town staff would have to run it. That's policy in Old Lyme. But we could provide, just like we do now with Michelle, when you want something updated on your web page for your commission, you just send it to Michelle and say, can you add it for me?
So I would be curious to understand where that policy is, because I talked with Mary Jo Nozel about this issue, and she said that there is no such policy. And it's also interesting to note that the website that supports the Department of Parks and Rec is actually maintained by one of the Park and Rec commissioners who is not a town employee.
The what website?
The website that, so as we've said, no commission can have a website, but to split hairs, the Park and Rec department has a website, not the commission.
Right.
But I challenge you to understand how that is different than the commission, particularly in light of the fact that the website is maintained by one of the commissioners.
Candace, I don't know. I've just been dealing with this in the same way you have been for the past 6 months or so. I know there's an IT committee, and I know they're trying to manage the time of the staff people there. It's just, I mean, if MJ knows differently, then, you know, I certainly respect MJ's, you know, word. But what I have always learned is that staff maintain social media and the website.
Yeah, my impression of this whole thing, I wasn't sure if there was an official policy or not, and Candace, certainly what you're saying, I understand, and you're probably accurate, I would guess. I would assume it's accurate. It's more accurate than probably the other things I'm hearing. It just seems to me I think it goes back to what you just said. They're trying to manage that expense and the staff there, and for some reason they just don't want to get into. They think it's a can of worms for them and a bunch of work, and they're just kind of putting up their guard against it, and for some don't want to do it. So I think we're going to have to, to revisit this. I think you have to make a good case, and maybe the next step for that is to write up, kind of just what you've said and some examples, and include I thought the material that you had of other towns are doing would be very valuable, and then we can present a concrete argument to the Board of Selectmen and let them all look at it and have a public meeting at their meeting and have a discussion, and you guys could make your case and they vote, so at least get it to a decision like that rather than just a vague, we're not in,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Well, it
Cheryl,
sounds like Cheryl's made a lot more progress than we have, and I don't care who it is who achieves the end result, as long
Right,
as
yeah.
we get there. So go ahead.
I don't know what progress you think I've made. I just send things to Michelle to put on the Town of Old Lyme Facebook page. If
So
you're
I thought you had said that you were moving towards creating a website.
that Michelle would take care of. We would provide her the content and she would manage it.
I mean, that would be fine. I would be thrilled if we could put our business spotlight there. I mean,
yeah, right, well, yeah.
like I say, I don't really care how we get the end result. The other thing that concerns me is that the POCD calls out on page, I think it's 24 or 26, a bullet list of things that specifically the Economic Development Commission is supposed to promote.
Right.
And if we don't have a megaphone, if we don't have a way to promote this stuff, we can't possibly achieve the goals that have been laid out for us.
Well, that's a good point. So I would just ask Candace and MJ if they can put all of what they've just talked about, because I think they have good points, plus the material that you send and what other towns are doing is valuable. And let's get it to the point where we can put that on the Board of Selectmen agenda, elevate it, and make our case. I think that's the best way to try it. And it would be also pretty public at that point. And, I think that would be the way to go. Cheryl, for your proposal, could you kind of also just write up something a little bit, what you've talked about, a little bit what you're looking for, the benefits, and that in a proposal form, and we'll bring it up next time and vote on it?
Okay, very good.
Okay. Everything else, I think, anyone else have anything that they really want to talk about or report on or?
Just want to say one thing, which is we are having a work party at Halls Road, and anyone who would like to join us would be great. It's, bring your rake and your clippers and your tick spray and come on down. It's on the 17th, weather permitting, from 8 to 1, and we'll put you to work if you come down. And then we have 2 benches to donate to the Halls Road project. And they are going to be installed by the 24th, I hope. And we're going to have a little ceremony to drum up some attention to Halls Road. So both of these invitations are on the town site in case you want to join us. And hope you can come. Okay.
And thank you. And I think your Falls Road Committee is expecting that the master plan draft from BSC will be presented at the May meeting. So that's kind of a major event. Is that that accurate what I'm talking?
Yes,
what I-
yes,
yeah.
that's what we're trying to get to. Yep.
Okay, well, sorry, well, I'm sure everyone doesn't mind me rushing it. Okay, very good. I will entertain a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
I took the words out of your
Thank
mouth.
you all. All right. Anyone
Thank you.
opposed to adjourning? All right.
No,
Okay, great. We adjourn at 5:58. All right, thank
well,
you.
thanks, bye-bye.
Thanks. All right, bye. I'm gonna turn this recording off.